If you and I were helicoptered and drop off on the summit right now, we'd die within 3 to 5 minutes. Our brains would swell, our lungs would fill with fluid, and we'd drop dead. We could not
Whoa.
last on the summit. So we get used to it by going up to a mountain peak and then back down to base camp. So we go up to like get a taste of this thin air on a different mountain. That helps us to get used to what we'll then face when we get to Everest. The purpose of that is to avoid the first section on Everest, which is the Khumbu Icefall, 2,500 foot frozen waterfall. That's where it all is. That's the most dangerous part of the climb.
You're putting ladders over these crevices that it just seem to be bottomless.
They're garden ladders tied together with like cheap nylon rope. So I've got these wobbly crampons, and you cross these things and you're looking down, and they come to a point because it just gets darker and darker and darker. But they come to this V. So if you fall in, you're gonna get wedged into that V in this slippery ice. And then like over hours, the way you would die is the ice would just slowly move because it's a glacier. And you would just get crushed in there. Top of the ice wall, the Khumbu ice fall, is Camp 1, and then you get a little flatter section, maybe a 15-degree slope up to Camp 2. Then you get a steep section again, which is the Lhotse face. On the side of this cliff is Camp 3, and so you like dig a flat platform into the edge of this cliff, and your tent sits there. And people have died by waking up in the middle of the night to take a wee. They stand up and they're not tied in or harnessed in, and they slip and fall. And then up to Camp 4, that final push, we leave at 7 p.m. in order to climb through the night with the goal of getting back down before the following afternoon's storms hit. All you can see is a 100-foot beam of light in front of you. We were in the Milky Way galaxy once the clouds opened up, so you've just got like stars above you, and you're so high above the horizon line that you're looking down on the stars. So you feel like you're just walking through space with ice whipping into your goggles. Every inch of skin is completely covered up because if anything is exposed, your fingers, you've got 3 to 5 minutes before it completely freezes. And the only treatment once you have frostbite is to remove that finger or toe. I'd been dreaming about this for 17 years. It's 9 months of preparation and 2 months on the mountain. So here's like a year of my life basically dedicated to this climb. So I'm overwhelmed, but my oxygen was also leaking. So we were given 2 bottles of oxygen. Each is meant to last for 10 hours. The first one had run out so quickly. I had climbed Everest without oxygen for about an hour. And then we found my second fresh bottle. We keep climbing because we think we figured out the problem. We're well into the death zone at this point. We were above the Hillary steps, so at that point there's only like an hour or so remaining to get to the top. Didn't figure out the problem though, it kept leaking. So we turned back down. I'm crying and there's like tears that are freezing on my cheeks underneath the goggles as I'm like walking down, and I'm looking up, I can see the summit. I could even hear people like screaming and taking pictures on top of the summit, and like, I'm like, you're kidding, like it's right there and we've got to turn around. It was a total heartbreak. I mean, this is the thing I had dropped 50 grand on to come climb. I've been preparing for a year. That's a massive disappointment. So I'm waiting there for my turn to go down, and out of nowhere, up the Hillary step comes this guide, Justin Murley. And he's like, congratulations, dude, you got it. Summit of Everest. Way to go, bro. He like totally thinks that I made it. And I'm like, ooh. I say, I didn't make it. Like we had to turn back. He's like, let me check out what's going on. And he like takes a look and he sees that the little rubber washer that connects the regulator to the oxygen bottle, it became cracked because of the cold. So that's where the air was leaking out of. He pulls his tea bottle out of his backpack, opens it up, there's steam coming out. He takes the regulator, he dips it into the tea bottle, and screws it back in. I'm like, dude, this guy's lost his mind. He says, what does water do when it freezes? It expands, right? Yeah. So that expanding, freezing tea seals up the leak. He pats me on the back. He says, go up to the summit, get your photos, get back down. You're on borrowed time. Yeah, I wanted to kiss the guy, man. I was like, holy cow, this is the greatest gift of all time. It was amazing.
What was the feeling like when you get to the top?
Terrified, overjoyed. It is all spiritual is what I learned. In a weird way, I think I've become a mountain as a result of climbing all of these. That's what I feel at my core. And a mountain is a beautiful thing in that it can be eroded down over time, over like millions and millions of years. Glacier carves it out. It just is. If wind whips at it for the entirety of the year at 180 miles an hour, it still just exists. If people come and climb it, it's strong enough to support that. And from climbing all these mountains, somehow I've adopted that part of the mountain where I can see things happening around me almost in a meditative state permanently. And like, I just exist. I just am. And that's beautiful. And I feel like I can support the people in my life who are around me. So it's a very spiritual thing.